Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.
Maddeningly straight was my nickname in high school.
That's your nickname now.
Shit. Hi guys. Willows.
Tyler.
Alcohol Beyond This Point, episode 82. I'd like to start off today by saying, rest in peace, Uncle Phil.
Aw. Didn't he die a while ago?
Yeah, he died a while ago. Anyway, this is the podcast where me and Tyler debate business topics, both sober and drunk, to see if we come to the same conclusions. Last week, we actually went the entire hour just talking about business topics.
So this week, we're not going to discuss anything to do with business.
We're not even going to discuss politics, which is kind of business adjacent. We're just going to talk about the third thing that we like, which is...
Conspiracy theories?
I'm really trying to find my thought here.
Internet conspiracies and the world burning down?
So here's something we can talk about. I was at a farmer's market, as I do, and I was talking to a friend of mine she doesn't own the business, but it's her cousin's business.
Okay.
And they do I won't be too specific. I don't know if they want me to talk about them, but they do they have a farm and they make food, and then they do farm to table. They serve hot food at the markets from farm to table, and they make all the condiments and everything themselves from their own garden and shit. It's a whole farm to table kind of food operation. And she is a baker by trade, so that's her day job. And then she helps her cousin at night or whatever, or in the evenings, in the afternoons, because baking, evidently you do it 2 a.m, because everyone needs bread at 5, right?
Yeah, no, the bakery life sucks.
So anyway, but she was talking to me today because she was basically I know it's you guys being my friends always kind of belittle the accomplishments that I've been able to do.
Of course, yeah. We always knock you down.
But this woman was hey, you started a business at 18 and I am now 25 and I feel like my life is going nowhere and I hate it and I kind of want to start a business. How can I? Or she was I'm going to tell you my plan and you have to not say it's stupid, but give me constructive criticism.
Yeah. And
I just thought that was interesting. Do you think it's I think this, and then this was my other thought, was that earlier today, JL posted in the group chat that there was somebody from Manitoba that won a reality show where you had to be in the woods.
Yeah.
And it was last one standing, got $600,000.
Yeah.
And he won, and they asked him what he was going to do with the money, and he's I'm just going to fucking make a cabin in the woods and disconnect from society.
Yeah, I'm going to homestead. Which is funny because it's he just won money to do what he loves doing.
Yeah. Well, which is why he won, I guess, right? But it was two things back to back today that people were I am not happy the way my life is going in current society.
Oh.
And
I bet those are the only two people
in the world.
Yeah. At least maybe in the province. Maybe there's a few more out there, but I can't imagine there's that many.
There's at least 2.
I mean, how could you be unhappy if there's $6 crafty rattlers and $76 bottles of whiskey that are mediocre? I'm kidding, that was 46.
Well, at least you can buy this Wild and Wildberry Hard Iced Tea by Shrugging Dr. Beverage Company for only $3.69 a can at shrug.com.
$3.69?
We did that on purpose.
Nice. Of course you did.
It was either going to be $3.69 before tax or $4.20 after tax.
Absolutely.
But the $4.20 was a little bit high for the product category. But anyway, those are available at shrug.com. That's shrugdoc.com. So do you think that starting a business is a good way to get out of... I feel like my business has done very, very bad things to my mental health.
Yeah. I mean, not when it's winning.
Sure. Okay. But in this girl's situation,
right,
where she's my life sucks, I'm going to start a business so my life doesn't suck anymore. Do you think that's a smart...
Well, my follow-up question would be, why does your life suck?
Yeah, well, they don't like their job. And
right.
they were explaining to me, I feel like I don't get any satisfaction in working for other people, and I feel like I've learned all I can from other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I obviously can sympathize with that, but I think from my personal point of view, it's like the answer is always yes. Go try it, because what's the worst that's going to happen is you're going to try it and fail, and then you know for certain it's not for you, and then you no longer have this ambiguity and like wishing and wanting in the back of your mind anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's that wishing and wanting and I should have or could have that's going to kill you. It's not failure doesn't kill you. It's the shit that you never try.
That's one of the things I actually said. I know we would have a similar answer to this question. Is in my industry, like there's a couple times I've gone to like a birthday party or something, and so I was like drinking with some people I wouldn't usually drink with. Because our group, for the most part, is pretty positively thinking and like ambitious for the most part.
We don't sit around and complain.
No, but there's been a couple times where I'll like go to a birthday party, so I'll be drinking with like an older person that wouldn't usually hang around, that are like in their 40s, and they know I'm in the craft liquor industry.
Mm-hmm.
And this has happened to me more than once, where they've been like, I had an idea for a brewery in like 1995.
Yeah, and it would have been impossible to execute because of the legislation in place.
Sure, or like in 2010 or whatever, before all these new breweries opened up. It's like, oh, now it's too saturated, but like I had this idea. I had this idea before these people had this idea.
It's like, you probably didn't, but...
Well, I wasn't alive in 1995.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, the one guy I'm thinking of, he's like, well, I basically was trying to be like, I could have done what you did.
I would just say, like, you should do it now. That
you didn't. Like, what are you trying to say? Yeah. So that's like what actually one of the things I said to my friend today was like, you don't want to be that. You don't want to be like, oh, I always wanted to start this bakery or whatever. And it's like, okay, grandma, let's get you back to the home. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right. But I feel like, do you think it's like, do you think it's responsible advice to tell everyone just quit your fucking job and try to start a business, and if you fail, you fail?
No, I wouldn't say it to everyone. Especially someone who's talks about business like that, because that person's not interested in starting a business. That person is just
might be happy if they just had a better boss.
Well, no, that kind of person is just satisfied with the complaint, you know?
Okay.
Saying like, I wish I could have, and I know that I could. Like, I know this fucking type of person because it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna name names, but it's like I feel like I intimately know this type of person because their fulfillment of that desire comes from having an idea, discussing it, or claiming ownership after the fact. And it's like, and I get that, but because I mean, like, for example, the whole skip the dishes thing, how I was like in a ramp up or in like a startup incubator at the same time Skip the Dishes was starting up, but I didn't follow through with it.
And they did.
And they did.
And they sold the company for $200 million in 6 years.
And you know, it's like I can say, you know, it didn't work for me because whatever my head software engineer guy ended up being a total flake and couldn't fucking hang. Like he was a brilliant engineer, but like couldn't hang in terms of starting a business.
Could you imagine if you pulled it off and you were just like worth $100 million now?
I don't fucking know, man. I think about it sometimes, but like,
we wouldn't know. We never would have met.
Probably not, no.
Right? Because that would have been before you were doing the other thing.
Well, no, we probably would have met. I think
just through other things.
I feel like we would have.
We would have been drinking at some other event and met.
Yeah.
We would have met regardless.
I feel like we would have met.
Fair.
This stuff was happening actually almost at the same time.
Well, I remember you mentioning it.
Yeah.
But then it never really went anywhere, and then I never asked you about it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't hear the whole story until we became better friends afterwards.
Yeah, it died out pretty much right around the time we met. So
yeah.
We still definitely could have been good friends. But I mean, also there's the whole thing of like, if one of your friends is literally millions of times more successful than you are, it's sometimes hard to maintain a friendship.
Well, I hang out with all you guys.
True.
Got him!
It's just like, it's sometimes really hard to see people succeed that far. And it's just, I don't know, your circles fucking change. Your whole universe changes when you become that wealthy.
Even like, I am obviously like, you guys make more money than me. Most of you.
We're mostly on an even keel,
all of
depending,
us,
like
our
in terms
friend
of
group.
in terms of lifestyle.
Yeah. But like I
For now,
the only time I've ever felt it was that when like I tried to plan my February trip, and everyone's like, "Well, no, I got to work,"
yeah,
and I'm like, "Well, just fucking take a week off," and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "I can't just take a week off,"
yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, right."
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
do have. That's the only time I've ever felt it. Like it's never been like we're going to Milan. You don't want to chip in for the private jet. Like
Yeah.
we're not there yet. But that was the only time where it's like I have a little bit more time flexibility. Maybe not time freedom, but time flexibility than a lot of
Well, you're
than
in
the average person.
you're in the phase of your life where you're still building up. You're in the building, like you're in your 20s phase. I don't think the cracks start to show until you're in your 30s.
Okay.
But if you become really wealthy young, all those cracks that would show in a decade are gonna all show immediately.
Because it's just kind of elevated.
Everyone else is like, oh, I'm trying to get approved for a house, and you're like, I just bought my 4th fucking cabin.
Yeah, right.
And
right,
it's
right,
like
right.
in
The kind of
Milan-
the struggles that
you know,
your friends are going through.
You can't relate.
You can't relate.
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
And then there might be some resentment there
absolutely
because they are rich and you're not.
they're like, and then it comes down to like, why don't you, then you have to like, if you want to elevate your friends up to your level, you got to literally share your wealth around. Otherwise, you're not gonna. There's no hope in hell of maintaining the friendship. And if you do, you also endanger fucking up the friendship because now you're giving the money.
Yeah.
So that like it's treacherous. Money fucks everybody up unless you all come up on an even keel, which is just how it is.
Which is hopefully what we're all trying.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean.
Well, one of us is going to become a communist and live in a fucking bush, and the rest of us are going to get rich.
But we can relish in our common ground right now.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. But, anyways, that long tangent to say, like I could talk about how I got fucked over because whatever, my head engineer was a flake and all this shit. But in reality, I probably wouldn't have been able to compete because at the same time that I was looking to start a new business cold, the 3 brothers that started this actual business, their starting point at the same period in time was one of them was already a like 15-year experienced software engineer. He had just 6 figures just sitting around burning a hole in his bank account, which he threw in for the startup. 2 other brothers who were both like very well educated. Both had I don't know if master's degrees, but at least definitely bachelor's degree. I think it was
Bachelor's in like communication. One of them, I think.
Yeah, and the other one I think was like a master's in like he was a
Business marketing or something.
no, he was a banking investment banker
Right.
in London
Which is why they're doing.
for like Deutsche Bank.
Which is why they're doing that new project.
Yeah.
Most of them are working on is because they all have experience in that.
Yeah, Neo Financial is the
Yeah.
new venture.
Okay, I wasn't gonna say it, but whatever.
Well, they're public. They just
Yeah, they can pay for advertising if they wanted me to fucking mention their business.
that's fair.
Just kidding. We've met all these guys for like reference. Like we're not friends with them, but like we've been in the same circles. Not anymore because they're
Yeah,
fucking
obviously.
like.
Yeah.
But we were in the same. I remember being on. Were you there when we were hanging out on their balcony?
No,
they bought
I think I missed that one.
Yeah, they bought a condo across from the new Skip offices, and,
Yeah.
and they had a private balcony on top and everything. And we were just hanging out there drinking. And I forget why I was there, but
Yeah, superstars. But yeah, these guys were superstars to begin with, and if we would have been starting, oh, and also their dad is really wealthy and has a successful law firm, and they're all well connected. So, and these guys are like in their late 20s to mid 30s.
wait, the key to success is just have money and be well connected.
And have rich parents.
Why doesn't everyone think of that?
Exactly. So it's
Wow.
like there was no even keel there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have maybe made a run at it and been like a threat to them, but for their 200 million, I probably would have made 20.
But they could have bought you out for 20
Potentially,
million, right? Yeah.
exactly. So there
To
is
get you the fuck out of their way. Yeah.
But I could just as easily say, you know what, I could have been that 200 million because I had that idea.
Yeah.
It's like I even got into the execution phase.
Oh, yeah,
I was starting fundraising, and it was like that. I got that far, and it fell apart. And it's like I have no fucking claim to that idea because you know what? So do many other people, and there's a bunch of other companies that are doing the same shit. And you know what? Who made it big? This one particular group of guys, because they had a formula that was correct at the correct time, and then also they rode the pandemic. Like, I guess that was kind of after the sale, but still,
That was
like,
after,
There's
yeah.
there's a lot of ideal conditions, and like Uber getting rejected out of the city, like a lot of shit had to happen for that story to end the way that it ended. And yeah, I don't know. You definitely can't play that card, but man, for a lot of people, it's all they need.
Well, it's the same people that are like reminiscing about their high school football team,
Exactly.
right? It's the same idea where you're like, I had this one great idea, but like ideas are cheap, right? Like fucking everyone has a great idea.
And it's totally fine to talk about ideas and things that you have. That's how everything begins.
Of course.
But if you're not putting yourself in situations where you're going to actually fucking capitalize on it, or my favorite way is you just fake it and promise until you're like, oh shit, I actually got to execute on this because I promised all these people that I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, and you like almost guilt / trick yourself into starting a business, which also works. But it's that part too that instead of being like, oh, I had this idea, you turn it into, it's like, oh shit, now I got to own up to it.
Yeah.
Two very different people.
Yeah. I just like, I even have acquaintances, people that I would consider like friends. Friends is a weird word because like literally we have a group of 5 people and our significant others.
Yeah.
And that's the friend group.
Yeah.
We don't hang out with basically anyone else. There's a couple like C-tier friends that'll come around when like we have big get-togethers, but basically it's like that core group, right?
Which is pretty big for people our age.
Yeah. And
Total of like 11, 12 people.
Yeah. So when I use the word friend, I use it pretty liberally. Like a lot of these friends that I see, and the reason why I see these people so often, like they're almost like coworkers because I do farmers markets and stuff with them. Some of them I see 6 days a week. Yeah. And there's people that I've known for 3 years that I see 6 days a week that I like don't know their last name. And some of them I don't even know their name. I just know what their business name is. Like,
oh yeah, same. There's contractors that I'm like, I know what like their kids are in soccer, but I don't remember the fucking dude's name.
Yeah. So I have friends that like have big ideas for their businesses and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, it's been 4 years and I see you at markets and you're still telling me about, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I'm like, you're still telling me the same story. And it's like, it takes a lot of energy. Like if I'm not super close with them, I can't just be like, yeah, fucking do it, buddy. Like, because I tell you to do it.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if I'm not super close with them, I can't be like, just fucking do it then. Stop telling me about it.
Here's something I actually just thought of. A way if you want to be like good and helpful to people in this situation, be like, I don't want to be the asshole that shuts them down. But also I want to not just validate their lack of action.
Yeah.
Something you can do is just like take genuine interest in the idea, like, you know, ask some probing questions. And one of my favorite lines of questioning is like, it's like, well, do you have any of this like written down? Like, have you started making a more concise business plan? Like, have you started to actually like map this out? And that's obviously a big threshold for people if they've ever written something down. If you've taken an idea, even just a pen, even if it's like scratch notes on a paper, it's like, okay, great. Well, have you tried presenting that in the form of a business plan, or try to get involved in some programs to be like, well, what kind of programs? Like, well, you know, it's like, you could explain like the Futurepreneur program, the BDC programming, the name a thing, right?
Yeah.
Startup incubators that exist, or if, you know, Women's Entrepreneurship Center, name a thing. And if they're interested at that point, they'd be like, oh, well, can you tell me more about that? It's like, if you go in that direction, great, and be helpful, and then you can be like, you know what, I've done a bunch of business plans. I could probably review stuff that you write and kind of help you along the way. Like, you know what, like, if you want my email, I can send it to you, and over the next couple of weeks, you could like send me stuff, bounce ideas off. And now you've created like this relationship where they're like, oh shit, I got to send this guy something.
Yeah. Otherwise, I look like an idiot.
And they'll never bring it up again. Second one is this one's an easier just conversation ender. This can be a little bit more assertive.
Yeah.
Is I had someone ask me this in like a really innocent way. It was like someone's dad, whatever, just kind of said it in passing. He's like, oh, do you have a timeline for that? I was like, And it's like it's such a simple, genuine question,
That's
follow-up question to a
obviously,
statement.
yeah, of course, yeah, because
And-
you're not trying to be a dick. Obviously, it's just I'm genuinely curious. Do you have a timeline?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I like that.
all of a sudden it's like, well, it's just something I've been thinking about. It's
Yeah.
like, and then you can really, really kind of test the waters on that. Like, there's a lot of things you can kind of do that, act interested, be helpful, because everybody should be fucking helpful, and maybe help that person a little along the way. If not help them, maybe at least kind of don't validate their shit, because I think validating people's bullshit is as unhelpful as you can be.
Contrary to
I'd say it's a negative, not a neutral.
contrary to what it looks like, I don't like to give unsolicited business advice.
True. Out of the two of us, I'm the one that does that.
This is solicited. If you're listening to this podcast, you're consenting. You want to hear my thoughts, right? But I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of young entrepreneurs, and a lot of very small entrepreneurs in stature, not in business size. I only talk to people with billion-dollar companies, but they're all short. And just because of the way I run my business with farmers markets and stuff, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and I very often, when they're telling a story, it's like I want to pick apart their fucking idea. That's why my friend today was like, okay, I'm going to tell you a life plan, but you can't be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Because often I'm like, I want to, whatever. But I don't like to give advice unless I'm asked about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I'm going to say something, I'll be like, do you want to hear my opinion? And then if I say yes, then I'll give it, right? Like, but I'm not like waiting for them to ask me about it.
Yeah.
But like, I want to make sure like they actually want to hear it, because some people have their plan that they want to roll with, and they want to roll with it, right? And like, there was a friend, someone I would consider like a friend that I was friendly with, at least, that had a business, and they were just like, they just couldn't catch a break. They just closed the business recently, but I feel bad when entrepreneurs fail, but like at the same time, it's like, you didn't think this was going to be easy, right? Like, it's supposed to be hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there were many times where I'm like, I had ideas that I think really could have helped that they were just not interested in hearing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Great. Now you're out of business and I'm not, so whatever. But I don't know. It's a weird kind of situation where like I feel like a lot of people in our community don't like it when people, like, I don't fucking like it when people tell me what to do or give me advice, right? 90% of the time that somebody was like, why don't you do this? I have already worked out extensively at 4 a.m. why, and come to the conclusion that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
After like putting in 80 hours of research. And then they're like, well, why don't you just do this? It seems so obvious. Like, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And like, why don't you just make wine out of this? Why don't you just sell it here? Why don't you just do this? And it's like, believe me, I have thought about it, but like, usually that comes from customers.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, and it's like, you can't tell them to fuck off, obviously. And not that they're just trying to be helpful.
Or, yeah.
But
have an
they're,
interesting conversation.
yeah, but usually it's like, no, I wouldn't do that because of this and this and this and this and this would happen and this would happen. It's like, I already have this worked out.
Yeah. I find like often a good way to handle it is just giving a concise answer as to why you shot that idea down.
Sometimes it's hard because there's so much nuance.
Yeah.
With like how the liquor laws work in this province, and it's like, it's gonna take me 15 minutes to. It's like, okay, well, do you know about markup structures? Like, because the taxation of liquor in this province is really, really, indicative of why I came to this conclusion. And it's like, yeah, it's not worth it. It's like, yeah, good idea, thanks, bye. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs start into entrepreneurship because they don't want to be told what to do.
You should be like, that's a cool idea. You should call your MLA and tell them it's
I say that
possible.
all the time. Yeah. If they're like, well, that's stupid, I'm like, yeah, talk to your MLA, man. Like, yeah. But I don't know. I genuinely care about people that try to run small businesses.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's because I've gone through it, but like, it takes a lot of gusto.
Well, people, I think it's a lot easier to be empathetic to people that are in
A similar situation.
They're also trying stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it all depends on the context of the conversation. If you're in in a place, where business people are, you're at some networking event, or you're at some training seminar, or
That's why they're
something
there
like
for
that.
them for a lot of the time.
Exactly. So it elevates the conversation immediately. But also there's the seminar junkies and tire kickers and shit. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't have to be nice to people.
No.
But it does make your life better if you are really nice to people.
I on that note, before we move into the segment here, I fucked up today and I made a joke that didn't land.
Oh no.
And so I made a joke to the organizer of one of the farmers markets I was at, because they do 2 markets a week, a Saturday one and a Wednesday one, and the Wednesday one's like really slow. And I've been more than vocal about my displeasure on how this was slow and how they're not doing a great job on the Wednesdays, and I try to be constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And I'm relatively close with the coordinator. So she's just an employee. Like, it's not her board, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, she doesn't make the decisions. So that's why I thought the joke would land, because it's not her fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I said something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm going to get elected to the board and fucking fire all of you." And she came back afterwards and was like, "That was actually crossing a line." And she was serious. She thought about it,
Yeah.
and came back and was like, "Hey, I know we joke, but like that was like too far." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I like, yeah." And I'm just like, I know this isn't your fault. I'm just frustrated, and I know yeah, it's like, number one, obviously I'm not going to get elected to the board because I say shit like that. No one's ever going to fucking elect me.
Yeah.
Number two,
Certainly.
I know it's not your fault. And it was fine afterwards. I apologize. I just hope she doesn't think about it when she's lying in bed tonight. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I did, because I kind of she's nice. She's nice enough. So I'm like, I don't want to.
I mean, maybe there's a kernel of truth. Maybe she is responsible in part.
Well,
you never know.
People can always be doing more. Here's another. Oh, let's do this first, and I'll tell the story about. I don't even know if I told you this story where I sent a 9-page fucking email to the organizer of a market.
No.
Okay, yeah, it's a good story. Hold on. We're gonna transfer here to the part of the show that we call shot caller. The part of the show, said that twice, that the audience can pick the shot that we take. This shot is chosen by Mr. Jack Daniel from Lynchburg, Tennessee, and coincidentally enough, it's a shot of Jack Daniels. So thanks, Jack, for sponsoring this episode.
And Lynchburg is not known for anything specific.
Wait a second.
I just hope old Uncle Jack wasn't involved. Yeah. Oh, now it got me. Jack is not a nice man.
God damn it. I can't drink fucking cheap whiskey anymore.
He needs to spend more time in the barrel.
Christ, dude. I'm we used to chug this kind of shit.
I think he used to chug worse than that.
Canadian 83.
Which is worse.
If I smell Canadian 83 now, I puke. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And I like whiskey.
Yeah.
I really like whiskey. And I literally can't get a fucking sniff of that without literally gagging.
I mean, and I'm giving Swear Jar here some shit, which is a 6-year Canadian whiskey.
That's smooth, at least.
This is pretty smooth.
I just teared up taking a shot of Jack Daniels. Am I getting old?
Yeah.
Or because I used to be able to fucking just take shots.
I don't know what it is, man.
But I think, you know what I think it is? It's just I get spoiled. You start drinking, the day you have a shot of $100 liquor, you're like, oh.
That's how it's supposed to taste.
That's what it's supposed to taste. That's why you see fucking rich people on TV sipping warm whiskey. You're like, ew, that's disgusting. It's like, no, it's not.
Well, warm Jack is.
Oh my God. Well, exactly, right? So I can't. Oh, it's so bad.
Ugh. Now I'm thinking about sipping warm Jack, and it's making my spine crawl.
Oh man, I was literally crying. Okay, anyway, so this farmers market. So we do 15 farmers markets a week in the summer right now.
Yeah.
In the summer of 2022, and one of them sent out an email. And this is my lowest sales out of the 15.
Yeah.
It's about 20% lower than the next lowest.
Oh wow.
And probably about my percentage match. So if we'll do $300 in 4 hours at this market, okay, if I do like $2,000 in 4 hours of my top market,
Yeah.
I'll do like 150 there in the same time
Okay.
at the lowest one.
So that's like
For reference.
that's like 15% of.
Yeah. So for reference, that's how shitty it is.
Yeah.
And like I think the week that they sent this email, I think I lost money. Like we made maybe $80 in sales, and then I pay Ellie $15 an hour to be there plus the $35 fee or whatever. So I was like negative probably $70.
Plus, Ellie's not making commish.
Yeah, because I have a bonus structure that's based on selling bottles, and she sold like 5 bottles.
Yeah.
So she wasn't making a bonus either. But the reason why I was so slow is because there was just no one there, no customers. So the organizers that night sent out an email being like, "Hey, we're gonna open the floor to you guys. What can we do to make this market busier?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have responded probably, or if I did, I wouldn't have gone too in depth if that was it. But they followed it up with being, "Well, we've already tried almost everything. We've changed the time from like 10 to 2 to 11 to 3. And we've also taken out a radio ad. I just don't know what else we can do."
Incredible.
And when I read that line, I'm like, oh, okay. What else can you do?
I don't know, Willows.
So
teach us on how to make a successful farmer's market.
So I ended up typing 9 paragraphs.
Nice.
And I started it off by being, "Do not take any of this to heart," because I was a couple there was a couple times I was sassier than I should have been.
Yeah.
I should have been more professional. But fuck you, I'm paying you.
Yeah.
I pay you to go there every week.
I lose money to work at your place.
Literally. So fuck off.
And also you're kind of a clutch vendor that they need.
Yeah, I'm a good vendor for them. I'm very unique. But yeah, anyway, so there was a ton of shit, but like the first one is it's once every 2 weeks.
Okay. So
I'm
there's
like-
no regularity
I'm like,
there.
end that. Make it every week because, and they're like, well, I'm like, I don't give a shit because, and here's a business advice for not just markets and shit, but at least this is like good, solid business advice. The consumer, if they show up one time and it's not there, they're never coming back.
Yeah.
They're not going through your fucking Instagram to figure out the dates.
Right.
If they thought it was Thursday and they showed up and it's not there on Thursday, they're never coming back.
True.
You know where they're going? To the Wolseley market or the downtown market or the Transcona market that is every Thursday, that we also do on Thursdays.
Yeah.
They're not going to this fucking Dakota market anymore. So that was the big one. Well, one of the big ones. Another one was, it's not a substantial amount, but I think like 2 or 3 of their vendors are MLM, Tupperware, and some other makeup one and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations with a rep that happens to live in that area.
Right.
And
like the other meaning of the word, they also have a rep and baggage to those brands.
So
when I see like a Mary Kay stand, I fucking roll my eyes.
Yeah. So, and I personally know more than 10 vendors that won't attend events if it has multi-level marketing companies.
Yeah, because you're putting local makers
right
against
beside other
multi-billion-dollar
Yeah.
corporations, or at least multi-million.
And it looks bad.
There's only one multi-billion-dollar.
No, I think there's a
MLM?
bunch. There's a ton.
Billions?
Amway,
Is the main one?
her Herbalife is definitely over $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
Tupperware is probably. They're in Walmarts, and Tupperware is enough of ubiquitous to get genericized,
True.
like Kleenex, right? Like
True.
so.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
there's kind of like the old ones, but most of the ones that people do now.
I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Vemo's doing over $1 billion.
That doesn't mean they're multi-billion-dollar corporations.
Sure, but
it's a fine line. It's like, have they been that for more than a year?
yeah, that's is the Ponzi scheme big enough? Anyway,
Is it blown in their faces?
the talking about whether MLM is a Ponzi scheme is a different episode entirely.
We're gonna do an MLM episode
one day, but my point being, I personally know people vendors that won't attend if there's MLM, and I know customers that will just be like, no, boycott.
Yeah.
So I told them that, and their response was, well, we didn't have enough vendors. And I said, frankly, you better off having 10 good vendors than 20 shitty vendors.
Yeah.
My other complaint was with the variety. Sometimes they don't have vegetables. Sometimes they don't have eggs. Sometimes they don't have meat. It's like, this is a farmer's market, right? If you want to be a craft market, market it like that.
Yeah.
But if you're marketing it like a farmer's market, you need to have the essentials. You need to have vegetables.
You need the staples.
Vegetables, meat, eggs, and milk, and bread.
And weekly available.
Those
has to be weekly available because
they have to be there every week.
Nobody's buying fresh fucking farmers' food every second or fourth week.
So, and because you know what they're going to, if they have to go somewhere else to another market or to Walmart after that market,
they're not coming.
You know what they're just going to do? Go to fucking Walmart.
Which is one of the struggles with your fucking tasting room, right? You don't have a restaurant, so you have to be a part of a two-stop night, which most people don't have the endurance for.
Yes, so I'm working on that.
Yeah, obviously,
we can talk about
but
that.
It's a huge it's a huge hurdle for you. It's six figures of investment.
Yeah, I did get a little bit of leeway from my health inspector though, so I'll be talking about that more as we do it. But
cool. But yeah, the two-stop night is you might as well tell someone to get their fucking groceries on Mars because it's like the two-stop night, you got to gear yourself up for that.
Yeah. So that's, and
especially if you got kids.
Yeah. So that's something, that's a good general piece of advice too. I think this is why I'm going through the list is because I think these are a lot of like general good business advice.
That's why one-stop shops are big.
Yeah. So another thing I said was, you need to have, because they're fucking so obsessed with this, like, is the time okay? Do you think the time is okay? And I said to them, I'm like, dude, fucking people line up at 2 a.m. for Supreme drops or video games.
Yeah.
When they have school in the morning, right? Like, people go to night markets. They go to day markets. Like, it doesn't matter what time your fucking shit is. If people want to go, they'll make time.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out. And I said, like, what's your draw? Like, literally the first page of every business plan should be,
what's your USP?
Well, what is your unique sales proposition? Did I get that right?
Nailed it.
And
I had faith in you.
What is unique? The reason why I stopped is because I started laughing at, I saw somebody was fishing and pulled out a handgun. And they're like, oh, and they posted on like 4chan or Reddit, I think. And they're like, oh, it looks like the USP from Half-Life, ha ha ha. And it was actually a murder weapon that like they were looking for.
Nice.
And this guy's just like posting pictures of it on Reddit, being like, oh, it looks like it's from Half-Life, but that was the USP is a kind of gun, right?
An USP.
Anyway, but yeah, what's your unique value proposition? Why would somebody come to your market and not somebody else's? And I asked them that, and they're like, well, it didn't have an answer. And I'm like, why is somebody coming to your market and not another one?
Well, because it's here, not there.
These fucking community centers that during COVID, they're like, oh, we can just make a market and people will come here instead of the grocery store. And then they put no marketing and no effort into it. They just think people will show up.
People drive across town to save 20% on their groceries.
People drive across town to pay 20% more on their groceries because
Also
it's
that.
a better experience.
Also that.
And I explained to them, like, I
went all the way to Cleveland to go to Whole Foods for Thanksgiving.
And I explained to them, like, you don't have a draw. Like, let's be honest. And then I listed like 40 things, literally 40 things. I'm like, some places have a beer garden. Some places have cool live music. Some people, you know, what is it? It's a photo booth. It's a fucking free popcorn stand. I don't fucking know.
It's a splash park.
I don't know what's going to work for you, but it needs to be something unique.
Yeah.
That people will go to there and not somewhere else. And then I went into marketing. I'm like, and then this is one of my cheeky moments where I said, because they're like, oh, we took out a radio ad and we went to and we were on like a CTV morning show.
Yeah.
And I went, you know, radio and TV might be good for people your age. And then in parentheses, or maybe not because no one's showing up. But I don't know a single person my age that has access to a radio or a cable television.
Yeah.
Not a single one. I don't know how to listen to the radio.
I don't even listen to radio in my car.
How do you? I don't think I have a.
Yes, you do. You have a Mercedes-Benz. You have a radio.
Well, no, I have a Bluetooth one, but like I don't think I have a. Can I connect to the radio?
Probably.
I'm not kidding. Like, can I?
I'll show you. We might need to wire up an antenna.
You know, as another one is.
So here's a fucking idea. Let me pitch one for you right
Sure.
now.
Yeah, go
I've been
ahead.
thinking about this for all of 10 minutes. So have you ever heard of a bouncy castle?
Is it like a regular castle?
It's just bouncy as fuck.
Okay.
You can still do sieges and stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
You can whip people in there.
So they should get a bouncy castle.
Yeah. So they're not that expensive.
I know a guy.
And I literally know a guy that will rent one to you. So work out a deal. Be like, I'm going to rent this thing every week.
A different market this year did get a bouncy castle, and then they stopped because it was just the vendors' kids that were playing on it.
Interesting.
And nobody else came.
But it's like it's something of a gimmick of like it has to be in the right neighborhood, it has to be in the right place. But it's like maybe it's not a bouncy castle, maybe it's a petting zoo, maybe it's like
That's what I said. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
it's what I've heard from like one of my employees. He's a parent with kids between 2 and 9. Like what's key, what really gets his goat for a place is like a play structure over there and a beer for me right here, and I
Yeah.
can see my kids
Yeah.
while I'm drinking my beer.
Yeah.
Fucking sets him off. He's like, this is literally the best shit since sliced bread.
When one of the good markets I go to has a beer garden, and then they also have like a kids play zone
Literally, it could be a play zone instead of a bouncy castle.
and live music.
Yeah,
Right. Like, so
like these things you could probably source from your community
that's what I'm saying.
in a really efficient way because that's what these things are.
Well,
like,
and that's why I'm saying I don't have an answer for you, but just tap
no.
your contacts.
well, I do. Here's the answer.
Get a bouncy castle at a petting zoo. Put the animals on the bouncy castle. Bounce them around.
Here's what I would ask a person that was starting a farmer's market. It'd be like, why are you starting a farmer's market?
Yeah. To make money. Easy money. You just have the location and the people pay you. Easy.
Fuck you, start a grocery store. No, literally, fuck you. Go fuck yourself and fuck you and fuck them. Walk the fuck out.
Because you don't want the overhead. The
also,
vendors.
also fuck you.
The vendor.
Like, more fuck you. All that is fuck you. Because the only reason you should be starting a farmer's market is because you want to engage the community and create, like, a system of, like, mutual individual dependence. Like,
Yeah, I
like
want-
this is
yeah, I
where
wanna
people
help the
come to do business with each other.
Yeah, I want to help the farmers sell at the market. That's why I have Tupperware and Avon at my fucking market.
Yeah, fuck you. No,
That's what I'm saying.
this is a community marketplace where people can practice self-reliance.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do? Tap into your local market and see what people want and what they want to produce. And it's like childcare is important. Key groceries and locally sourced food is valuable to people. And there's a lot of people that are going
Come
in that
leave
direction.
your kid at the farmer's market while you go to work.
Yeah.
We'll watch
Like,
them.
not just like, well, leave them there while you shop. Like,
Yeah.
Or it could be as simple as like, you know what? We have a really great local. We have one of the best water sources in the world is in
We
our
do.
province.
Yeah, that's true.
Jackson Springs has like some of the highest awarded water in the world.
Yeah, Shoal Lake.
Literally approach Jackson Springs and be like, you know what? We have a cyclical customer base, and we know you do deliveries, but here's a way to like not do that. And be like, you know what? We'll even take your shit out of your car and like drop the new drugs in the trunk. Like, just do something simple. It's like, come here for your healthy, alkaline, filtered spring water. Get your farm fresh eggs. Get your farm fresh cuts of beef. And it's like, and then we'll take care of your kids a little bit. You can maybe go get some wine over there. Sit down. Like, now you're giving a fuck about the community. If you started it because you could, like, you've completely missed the mark.
I agree with you. 2 or 3 of the markets that we do that are successful have CSAs, which are community supported agriculture,
Right.
which is basically a subscription service for local veggies.
Which is amazing.
And then they set their pickup to the farmer's market.
Right.
So because it could just be a pickup at a fucking parking lot,
Yeah.
which some of them do, but these ones specifically do pick up at the farmer's market so that people shop other things while
It
they're
drives
here.
traffic.
And two or three markets that I do also have local milk with a bottle swap program. It's a glass bottle.
Amazing.
You bring it back, get a new one, like swap it out. Eggs do that with the egg carton too. They swap them out in like a wooden,
Yeah.
like a lot of and I said this to the shitty market. I said, here are some of the things that good markets do. They have a draw. This is different than the unique offering, is a weekly draw, because a CSA isn't unique. But what it will do is get the same customers there every single Wednesday,
a CSA is
Thursday.
unique because
Okay, sure,
their location makes them different.
It was 2 different points in my email,
Right,
though,
yeah.
where I'm like, this is something that will attract them every week. They'll be coming back because they have to do that, and they've already paid for it, so they're coming.
Yeah.
That's a guaranteed customer base, right?
Yeah.
And then what you do is
Pile on the other shit.
right beside them, you put a fucking cinnamon bun vendor that smells great. Right? And then they're like, oh, fuck, I kind of want a cinnamon bun. And then they get that, and then now they're eating it, so they don't want to drive because their hands are sticky. Now they'll walk around, and then they'll see a lemonade, and they'll be like, oh, I am pretty thirsty because of the cinnamon bun. Like, there's a reason why grocery stores they position everything strategically.
It's like you pay literally any attention to the psychology of your customer.
But they don't, these people, right? So what I also was saying was like, before we got off track was, my cheeky, like, yeah, we don't listen to the radio thing. I'm like, I tell fucking markets this all the time. Red River College are, what is it? It's like a university for dumb people. That's controversial.
Red River College?
Okay, because in America, remember 65% of our viewership is American.
I would say Red River College is probably a higher quality education than a provincial university in most cases.
No, but
yeah, literally is.
No,
It
it's
literally is.
more of a practical.
Which is, I said higher quality.
Yeah, it's
So
more trades oriented.
No, it's more actually use the fucking thing you learned about. It can be literally, and it can be
Yeah, but
technology. It can
high
be
paying jobs
culinary.
don't. Yeah, but you don't use any skills in high paying jobs. Government jobs, have you seen these? You don't fucking use skills.
One of the best marketing firms that this city has to offer, both Red River grads.
Okay, I was just being a dick. My point being,
Well,
Red River College. Hold on.
But I would concede they're an anomaly.
Red River College has a social media marketing department
Mm-hmm.
or a course where kids, like 18-year-old kids, would love to work for $15 an hour to fucking post on TikTok.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Absolutely.
Ask that professor, hey, could you please just ask your kids, we have a position that's open in the summer when they're not at school, for fucking $15 an hour, and obviously that's experience, to make TikToks and Instagram posts for our farmers market, because farmers markets are fucking amazing short form video content like TikTok.
Yeah.
Because you have so many vendors to play with, different colors, different people, personalities, groups of people. Like, it's such good content.
Yeah.
I'm like, hire a fucking kid from there. I won't mention the name, but the biggest farmers market we do, you can probably figure it out from there. They got a grant from the fucking government, $40,000 to hire students. You know what they had them doing during COVID? Wiping down tables with sanitizer.
Oh my God. I thought you were gonna say something good.
No.
That hurts.
Yeah. No,
Fuck
two of
me.
them.
Oh.
They went between the bathroom, the front table, and the food picnic tables, just sanitizing them between every customer. Even though, remember the CDC thought for like 4 days that COVID might be landed on services?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh, no. We were wrong about that. And then for 2 years, everyone sanitized everything, even though it didn't live on surfaces.
It was theater.
So, but they paid these kids, or the government paid them. It was a grant, whatever, right? But they paid these kids to just sanitize surfaces. I'm like, can you, and I said this to the coordinator, I'm like, can you just get them while they're in between jobs to take a fucking Snapchat? Like, and they're like,
You mean be on their phones at work?
and that's why I said in this email, this was like 2 years ago with a different market, but to this, what we're talking about now, this email I typed, I'm like, you may not put value on social media, But obviously, number one, what you're doing isn't working. Number two, I cited stuff like Third and Bird is a artisanal market, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
They're a very influencer-friendly market that we attend. Not really my crowd. Not that I have anything against them, but it's just not really my... It's a lot of extra people that are extra influencer types. A lot of girls in hats, let's say that.
I love hats.
There's it's a 3-day event twice a year, and the first day is the VIP tickets.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a single minority this last time. I was looking. It was all... It was funny. At the beginning of COVID, it was all pregnant white women with their husbands carrying all the shit they're buying.
Right.
And then 9 months later when we did it, it was a bunch of white women with young children putting all the shit they're buying in the strollers.
Yeah.
But
$1,000 strollers.
Yeah, I have nothing against the market. We attend it. We do well.
Although I do have a thing against white women.
I love white women. Anyway, but not really my crowd, let's say, personally.
White women?
However, they've built their entire market on social media. That's it.
Yeah.
They have a similar follower count to the farmers market, the biggest one in the province,
Mm-hmm.
and they have 10 times the attendance. Sure, they do it. You know, the biggest one in the province does it every week in the summer, and this Third and Bird only does it 3 times a year.
Oh, you said it.
No, I said Third and Bird already. I didn't say this big farmers market. Third and Bird, I respect their business model. Like they're
True.
They're killing it. Let's be honest. Like
Yeah.
I did the math. They're probably collecting $200,000 in vendor fees a day.
Yeah.
A day worked. Obviously, it's a lot of prep time and whatever. But like, come on. Like,
Yeah, for an event, yeah.
For so they're probably making a cool $500K, probably a little bit more, in top line revenue every year.
How many events a year?
3, but
pretty dope.
and each of them are 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, they have a lot of staff. Sure, they rent one of the biggest venues in the province, but they're not spending that anywhere near that. They're probably netting 50%, I bet.
Yeah, probably.
And they used to, but to my knowledge, they don't spend a cent on advertising. Because they
it's all organic.
So they vendors have to pay like $1,000 to be there. They sell out of the vendors in less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
Customers have to pay like $40 to attend to shop.
Mm-hmm.
They sell out of the tickets every single time.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a lineup of vendors, right?
Yeah, there's a waiting list of like 100 vendors or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all these makers and local people want to get on that fucking list.
Yeah. And they've raised the prices and no one batted an eye.
And also, when you show up with your booth, they require a certain level of quality. And if you don't have that quality, they're like, you need to improve or you're not reinvited.
They made me... No. Not reinvited. They'll kick you out.
Yeah.
It's happened before. They make you send pictures of your display and they'll give you notes and you need to correct the notes before you can show up.
Yeah, so it's quality control.
I had Tyler build me a display.
Yeah.
We spent like $1,000 on.
Yeah.
Before they would let me attend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because you just had plastic table and a banner,
which works at a farmer's market.
Yeah.
But doesn't work at this event.
Yeah.
So,
if you showed up with that big display at farmers markets, people are like, whoa, this guy's not from here.
Yeah. But so my point being, they built this pretty much just on good social media.
Yeah.
Because people love to fucking post that they went to Third and Bird.
Yeah.
Because it's clout, right? And these farmers markets that are like, well, I don't think that TikTok stuff works. We're going to take out a radio ad. Like, it's just like I'm clawing my goddamn eyes out because I fucking see what other markets in the same market here, other events in the same market of Manitoba, same consumers. Because you could say like, oh, that works in LA, but it won't work in Winnipeg. It's like, this is the same fucking consumer pool.
Yeah, this is apples to apples.
And
also, to be fair, I will add this little caveat in here. Radio advertising does work for a demographic and it's really good for hyperlocal if you get on a hyperlocal popular station.
So here's what I said.
But it needs to be more than just a paid ad because people kind of tune that shit out.
Interviews. That's how I've found
Yeah.
success, right?
You need to, it's got to be a feature, something interesting. But then you know what you got to do? Provide something fucking interesting.
Yeah.
Like, the best advertising is a good product.
We're going to have a giraffe at the market this week. Come fucking see it. It's like, what?
Yeah.
How? Like,
Yeah, and they show up, it's a blow-up giraffe, and they're like, that's okay.
it's a horse in a fucking giraffe suit.
Yeah, it's like the it's a horse in a giraffe suit. And they're like, you know what? I got gypped, but my kids are fucking pumped.
That's a slur, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. I always forget that.
Yeah.
I never use that word either. I'm just drunk.
Okay.
I love the Gypsy King. That is his actual title.
No, I know.
And it's based because he's actually a gypsy and he's actually the king of the world.
Gypsy, though, is like the N-word for Romani people.
Right. But there's also a group of people that self-identify as that. And they're like, call me this, please.
Yeah, but there's those people that self-identify them as the N-word with a A at the end, and I'm not going to call them that on the...
No, his literal name on the ticket
I'm-
where he fights is the Gypsy King.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Stop saying...
You just beep it all out.
Yeah, yeah.
This entire argument where you just bleep half the fucking words.
The other one that people say a lot of time in Canada is Eskimo, which is a slur.
I don't hear a lot of Canadians say that. I hear fucking Americans say that.
I hear it a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mostly because
Maybe I just work with woke people.
maybe it is just old people that I work with. To be fair, not a lot, but like more than one person, probably more than 10 people in the last like 6 weeks have said, because I have my sales or my marketing manager Wyatt is a very large native man, and he's a gentle giant, and he's very polite, and old people love him.
Mm-hmm.
Love him. I have fucking grandmas being like, oh. But I've had probably like 10 people in the last few months be like, oh, that great Indian man that works for you, I really like him. And I'm just like,
I guess it was fine when you were like learning things.
Well, I guess it's yeah. Well, and that's the thing too is
You just stop changing at some point. Like
Why-
some people do
yeah.
it innocently, and some people
and,
do
like,
it in problematic.
It's still called
way.
the Indian Act,
True.
right? And it's still like
Because if you change the name of like a legal act, that is like an action.
you have to repass the act basically.
I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
as big a. It's like passing another law because
Yeah.
it's like changing. It's like the way law works. If you change the definition of something, you change the nature of it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So, and it's still like
Also, why don't they? It would be a fucking rubber stamp. But anyways.
well, it's still like Indian status card, Indian reservation. Like we use that word a lot as a culture. I don't personally. I cringe when I hear it, but also like if Wyatt's late to something, he'll tell me he's on Indian time. So
yeah, but you don't say that.
well, I just said it. So
Well, I mean, if he's late, you'd be like, buddy, you're on Indian time. He'd probably.
he would be fine with it, but I don't say shit like that.
You wouldn't. You
No,
wouldn't
no.
venture.
Which is interesting that like I even talking here now, I say the N-word, but I say Indian.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
Well, Indians a nationality. They live over there.
Oh yeah, no, I've been talking about Indians from India this entire time.
Literally.
So you can't fucking
Wyatt-
cancel me for this.
Wyatt, Palm Deep.
I actually made that joke where we were talking about India, like the country for some reason, and I'm like, yeah, where Wyatt's from. I love me some indigenous people. It was funny actually. I hired a new employee, young girl, and she's white presenting, but she's Métis. And when I hired her, Wyatt was like, "You're hiring another white one? Now I'm outnumbered like fucking 6-1." And then she was like, "No, I'm actually Métis." He's like, "Oh!" It was so funny.
It's like that. It's like that meme, the WWE meme, where his eyes go red. He's like, ah!
Yeah,
That one.
yeah.
Anyways,
I'm
a boomer.
Vince McMahon now has been forcibly removed from WWE
Based
for like raping somebody.
probably.
Yeah,
Was it one of the wrestlers?
probably right. Oh, and
He was Big Show.
this is completely off topic, but Jeanette McCurdy, iCarly fame,
Mm-hmm.
she just released a memoir.
Okay.
And apparently for one of the casting calls, they made her like get in a bikini when she was like 12.
Okay.
And it was Dan Schneider. She doesn't name him because she doesn't want to get sued.
Right.
But it 100% was Dan Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
Took a bunch of pictures of her basically in her underwear, right? Like in a bikini when she was like super underaged. And then later it was like, this is like she's like, has to be very vague. She's like worried. But apparently she was like sexually harassed, and then Nickelodeon offered her $300,000 to stay silent about it when she was like sexually harassed as a child. Yeah, not ideal.
That doesn't sound like Hollywood.
Well, you know, it's just more disgusting because it's children. That
doesn't make it different.
No. I'm just okay.
No, it does make it different.
It's not like Harvey Weinstein raping adults. It's like, well, they're adults. It's fine. No, obviously not. But
if
just
it's kids,
like,
it's worse.
Dude, it's a fucking like, man. When like, fucking Corey Feldman and Corey, the other one, Haynes, they were talking about how like in the rape of two Coreys or whatever, right? The documentary. They were talking about parents would literally offer their young children to be raped by producers if it guaranteed they'd be getting movies.
I don't doubt that.
That literal, like, this is like documented, like, or like, I guess it's all alleged.
Have you seen Toddlers and Tiaras? Like,
yeah, but it's like, think about that though.
It's because they're like by proxy getting famous.
But it's like, imagine, yeah, you can.
You'll thank me later. Like,
my 8-year-old will blow you if they'll get rich.
I feel like this episode's gonna get flagged.
Just so like, just disgusting. Good, we covered slurs and child rape in one episode.
In fucking 5 minutes. No, I think like this is to bring it back to a political note, which I think is where I love to be. No, I'm kidding. It makes me want to shoot myself. I'm drunk.
We make a lot of jokes, me and you.
But I would commit murder in Minecraft. Happily.
Yeah. But like there's some things that I really well, and it's the same reason like when you said Jip, I said that's a slur just to remind you. I wasn't mad or anything, but I'm just like, just to remind you. And it's the same way
I know it is. I just don't use the word.
The same way I'm the guy that corrects people's pronouns all the fucking time.
Yeah.
I'm like aggressive about it.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, no, actually their pronouns are they, them.
Which is funny because you're the straightest man. Maybe ever.
No, I'd suck a dick for a lot less than
who? Name a name, please.
There's a podcast, a pretty famous one. I forget. They're playing like how much money would you suck a dick for? What's the lowest amount of money you would suck a dick for?
That's a fun game.
And everyone's like, oh, like maybe 200,000. Like they're like at 1 million, 200,000 maybe, whatever. And one guy's like, I don't know, like $5,000 probably, right? Like that's a fair amount of fucking money for like how long do you have to suck a dick for, right?
Yeah. Like what's the period of time?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What, like $100?
I'll just close my eyes and pretend it's a girl.
True. Big titty goth girl. Where are we going with the conversation?
I don't know. We derailed really fucking fast. But that's just one, the pronoun thing. Sorry, conservatives. Sorry, liberals. I hate man. Fucking everyone is so dumb. But that's like something that I
like being a cis straight white man and being aggressive about pronouns is pretty funny.
I just think I approach it so aggressively because I'm so like believe in the non-aggression principle that like if someone wants to be called something, just respect them and call it that. Fuck off. Like
it's like one of my favorite
like God doesn't exist.
One of my favorite posts of the week was someone retweeted I think like a Marjorie Taylor Greene quote, who's the next God King of
President?
America.
Is she old enough to run?
I don't care. Definitely. She's got to be like 60 or 70.
She's not. No, she's not 60. She's young. She's like in her 40s.
She looks young.
She's like in her 40s.
Because she sucks the souls out of children.
She could suck my soul, baby.
Anyways.
I would destroy Marjorie Taylor Greene in bed in Minecraft.
she's a skin stretched over a skeleton with
Oh.
some evil stuck inside.
You know she's fucking kinky too, right?
oh, she's
all
gotta
these-
be. She's,
all these like
I bet you
these-
she's worse than every liberal she's ever
all
insulted.
these anti-gay people that like get caught with like gay prostitutes.
Absolutely.
Like you gotta know if they're repressing that much at a certain point.
She's railing MDMA off some chick's tits.
Yeah. It's like these fucking
100%.
it's like George Bush's fucking social club where they come on the fucking coffin,
Based.
the glass. They have the you know about this, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Alex Jones.
Skull and Bones, right? Where it's a fraternity and like part of the entry thing is they put you in a glass coffin and they all masturbate onto it. This is real. Google it. Like,
Which, I mean, is probably in a couple of frats at this point.
man, frat hazing is fucking
Honestly,
weird.
some hockey teams would probably do that.
Those two, man, literally, this is toxic masculinity. I'm not even kidding. Like this kind of shit.
Yeah.
People are so dumb. Oh, another thing I was gonna bring up.
I was gonna mention
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She made a statement about fuck, I just lost it.
Okay, so Trump's house just got raided today.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Mar-a-Lago or whatever. The FBI raided it. So Marjorie is posting defund the FBI.
Yeah.
And it's so two things. I saw a lot of conservatives being like, the FBI has finally been lost. Like, it's bad now. It's like, dude, it's been bad for fucking
It's always
since
been
its
bad.
inception, right? That's fine. So, but it's funny seeing like super pro police people being like, defund the FBI.
Yeah.
And then I've seen a lot of liberals today being like, the FBI doesn't just raid innocent people. Trump's obviously guilty.
Yeah.
Like so many I follow,
Within days.
because I follow a lot of like far right people, but I also follow a lot of like far left people that would like that call Bernie a fucking Nazi
Yeah.
because he's too far right.
Right.
Like fucking violent communists. Like I follow a couple of them just to get the perspective.
Leftists.
Like leftists that are like we
We're
need
not all
to.
commies.
Well, okay, so I think, but like we need to overthrow capitalism with guns, and by being a state senator, you're a Nazi. Like you're a fascist just by participating in the. I follow people like that.
And voting through trillions of dollars
Yeah.
of
Anyway,
defense.
and so they've been retweeting today a lot of liberals that are like being like, yeah, no, the FBI doesn't just raid people for no reason. And then they're like,
sure they fucking do.
Sure they fucking do.
No, sorry,
Like,
not for no reason, but not for honest and
no, but it's like
and
because
transparent
Tucker
reasons.
Carlson's been saying today, like, they're not releasing the body cam footage and shit
Yeah.
promptly because they're trying to plant evidence. And
That's a fun line of reasoning.
but then
My favorite part
No,
about
but
this
so-
whole case is that Trump's not denying any of the wrongdoing.
yeah,
He just hasn't been cooperating in this
Yeah.
grand jury
which is
indictment.
that's what you do, right? You don't put anything on the record. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, yeah, he hasn't denied it.
Because if you deny it, then they have you on the record saying you didn't do it, and if they can prove that you knew you did,
Well,
then you're fucked.
Well, the thing is, he's partially complied with a judge's ruling of like that he has to hand not like a grand jury's ruling that he has to hand over these documents that he took from the White House.
And then he flushed them down the toilet.
No, well, yes, but he handed over a bunch of the stuff that he had, and a lot of it had like those big red classified stamps on them.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you have this, like you have more, and they know what's missing, obviously, because they know exactly what they give the president. So they know what's missing.
Want to take a shot?
No,
Sure.
I got this whole thing.
Yeah.
They know what's missing, and they know what he gave them, and they know what's like not there. So what I heard from like a foreign policy analyst who was like previously in government said he's like, this kind of thing doesn't happen over routine archival information. He's like, there is something specific
They're looking for.
that Trump has that they're looking for that they cannot
Tell us.
release.
Interesting.
And they're like, they would not take this risk.
And sorry, who was this that said this?
The former deputy national security deputy.
Is he saying it like nonpartisanly?
He's retired and has a podcast.
Okay.
So he's not affiliated with the party anymore.
But does he
in
have
any official...
does he
He's-
have a
he was-
horse in the fight?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Just a podcast.
Sure.
So his it's Ben Rhodes. So his horse in the race is just his podcast and his books that he writes. He worked I think it's national security advisor. It's basically it's like the Tony Blinken, what Tony Blinken is now. He was assistant to that guy.
Okay.
Who was like the guy that actually handles and does the shit.
Yeah.
So second or third most powerful person in the White House next
Yeah.
to the chief of staff.
Yeah.
And he's like, knowing what I know about the Presidential Records Act and what the FBI does and what they did to Hillary, because he was there for that.
Yeah. This is probably what's happening.
And he's like, this is probably what's happening because, like, look what they did to Hillary.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of stuff got exposed and dumped and WikiLeaks, whatever. Like, maybe CIA sent that shit to WikiLeaks for all you know.
Who the fuck knows? Yeah.
So there was all this stuff that was released. He's like, but the fact that they did something so physical, invasive, and public, and controversial meant the stakes had to be extremely high.
So what is he postulating that it is?
He has no idea,
Yeah.
which is what I think makes him credible. Is he doesn't make any assertions as to what there was.
Because Tucker Carlson might.
Right.
Yeah.
But what he's
Or a liberal might.
yeah, what he did say, for example, is like what Trump is famous for not giving a fuck about records or laws.
And here's what
Like
I'll
this
say.
guy would wave around. He would take his personal letters from Kim Jong Un, and he
Yeah,
would,
and
like,
hold
he
them
would,
the wrong way. He's holding them to the camera, right?
yeah,
Like,
he would hold them to camera.
Yeah.
He even posted a picture to social media
Yeah.
once of a top secret classified document, and just posted it.
and didn't he tweet a picture of like a Navy SEAL or something? And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. So he.
Yeah.
So
Give him his Twitter back.
the president.
Please.
Yeah, please. The president has the ability to declassify anything, and for
Yeah.
the fucking Trump
But
defendants.
Trump isn't a president anymore.
But he was when he took the shit. So
so he.
so here's the counter argument against the people that say, well, Trump just has dirt on the government that he wants to reveal to the people, and blah,
is
blah,
that
blah,
the
blah, blah.
QAnon theory?
Well, this
that
is
like
this
his-
is any sympathizer.
sure.
This is the Fox News line.
Because all I'm hearing from
He's
like
keeping the shit for a reason.
all I'm hearing from like Biden is he has like January 6th emails.
See, that is a misnomer because unless it is specifically in the list of documents they're looking for, if they find it while fulfilling the warrant, it is not legally admissible in court.
Because they didn't get the warrant for that.
Yeah, they could find 3 pallets of cocaine
Yeah.
and not be able to charge him for it because it wasn't in the warrant.
Okay.
That's how that works.
yeah.
So the fact that they did it, it was something in the warrant that they were looking for, but they don't have to name because of national security.
I saw a tweet that was like
But,
they
like, if-
found 350 pounds of dope.
That'd be hilarious
It was Trump.
because he's fat and a dope.
Yeah.
But
got him.
like
Trump, come on this podcast. I saw you on the Nelk Boys. You'll do stupid shit. Come on.
you got to remember that people that work in the FBI and these like quote unquote deep state people, they follow they're rule followers, right?
Sure.
Within the bounds that gives them obscene power.
Sure.
But they do follow. There are rule followers because if they don't, their tactics don't work because then they get fucked on the back end, right? So I think they raided his shit because he had some documents that he was keeping because he's notoriously bad at keeping too many documents. And even with his business, he would burn shit. He'd flush his shit down the toilet. He would show stuff that he's not supposed to show. And if you want to layer on top of that, be like, you know what? Trump had some stuff in there that the American people needed to see. Why didn't he show you?
Yeah.
The president has the power to declassify anything.
Well, that's why they took his Twitter.
He doesn't need Twitter.
That's why they took it. That's why they banned him. That's why True Social is the only way to go.
The
This episode sponsored by.
the president can declassify anything he wants. It can be
Yeah.
current military operations of like a top secret agent that's like in the Kremlin, and he can declassify that and tell everyone.
If he feels like it's necessary.
But he has to officially declassify it,
Yeah.
which he could have declassified everything that he wanted to when he left the
So
White House.
this is just incompetency rather
It's
than
just like the
some
only
master plan.
reasonable conclusion of Trump's behavior is either blundering incompetency,
Which tracks.
which is the most convincing, plausible explanation, or he has some plan that's so nefarious, so big,
Yeah.
and so intelligent that it supersedes all reason.
Well, and he wanted to get raided. This follows his. This is part of his 5D chess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Put what you fucking want on it. But my take is the guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
He's always been bad with records. He always will be bad with records. He thinks he's above the law. He thinks the shit doesn't apply to him. And he's been... he's learned in his life, if he sandbags the government, he gets away with shit.
I'm just
and now he's not.
so sick of... Did you read this Inflation Reduction Act that's getting passed?
Some of it.
So in their own admission in the act, it's like fucking 900 pages long, but in their own writing, they said that 90% of the income generated from tax revenue from this act will come from people that make under $200,000 a year.
Yeah, because that's 90% of the taxpayers.
And they're hiring 270,000 new IRS agents, which makes the IRS officially bigger than Homeland Security, the FBI.
Bigger than NSA?
I think they have like 1 million employees now.
NSA is pretty big.
Not that big. But everything, and there were specifically clauses that would close loopholes for like money laundering and international banks and shit. They scrapped all of those before they passed it.
Yeah, because
they use all these money laundering things, like the government, right? Like
it's literally just fuck the middle class.
And then they call it the Inflation Reduction Act because it's the same way you call it the Patriot Act. Because if you're voting against inflation reduction, and then also in there they're giving another $1 billion to Ukraine.
So the best takes that I've heard, like the most leftist takes contrasted to like the Fox News takes, is best case, it doesn't do anything for inflation.
Well,
worst case, it makes it mildly worse.
They just said
basically it does nothing for inflation.
They just said August inflation is the same 8.5% as July.
Yeah.
But they framed it like, no, that's good.
Right.
It hasn't grown. It's like
it's peaked.
So many memes of like July inflation 8.5, and it's like Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad being mad, and then it's like 8.5 in August, happy.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we talking about?
Well, it's because they're looking for the peak for one.
But it's not.
But number two, like
it accumulates though. Like it's not. That's not how that works. It's not how that works.
No.
Like,
rate of change is important.
How am I smarter than economists? Continue.
Based. The Inflation Reduction Act, like for all the money they're spending, I think the earliest distribution of funds, the earliest provision starts in 26.
That's after his term.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect.
So
awesome.
Most of this stuff doesn't kick in until the end of the decade.
Hopefully Pelosi will be fucking dead by then. In Minecraft.
Jesus willing. Most of this stuff is effective long term. So in the best justification that I've heard, which I think is probably closest to the truth, is this will actually reduce inflation, but in like 15 to 25 years.
So the Republicans can take credit for it.
True.
Perfect.
Because when you make private sector investments, like when
but won't
Obama
Trump in 2024 just scrap all this?
No, this is passed through Congress. He can't.
So Republicans are voting for it?
No.
How does that work?
It's a budget reconciliation. They only need 50 votes.
I hate American politics.
True.
Because in Canada, if you can't pass a budget bill by a 2/3 majority, there's an election.
Yeah.
There's just a no confidence vote. If you can't pass a budget, you obviously can't run the country, and they just have another election.
Yeah.
So it makes us work together because you can't just steamroll and filibuster people.
Yeah, because then you trigger an election every time.
And then at a certain point, the public's like, okay, this is fucked.
At a certain point, you're just Israel.
Wait.
They're on their 6th election since 2019.
Yeah. That's fine. They're Jews, though, so you can't criticize them.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're Jews in Minecraft.
No, they're actually Jews.
No way, they're actually Jewish. Take this shot.
I
poured us a half shot because Tyler is a little man boy. This is not cheap whiskey. This is expensive whiskey that also tastes like shit.
Oh, it's a lot smoother.
I didn't even have to chase that. And the other one I cried on. So
see, it's not good for sipping. It's pretty good for shooting.
Not that I would pay for this. $70 you said this was?
No, it was like 36 or 40.
Oh, okay. That's not that bad.
I was being facetious.
Okay. They did win a gold medal in the San Francisco World Spirits Competition 2021.
Fuck San Francisco.
Says this on the label.
But the Inflation Reduction Act is one of those things where I hate to say it, but it's one of those almost competent moves
I don't know.
where I mean, Obama did this in '08 where he spent a bunch of money into like solar and renewables. And basically what
And
happens...
now Biden's turning on all the fucking oil pumps and shit. Like,
True. But what happens when the government kind of nods to renewables, what happens is they took, I think it was like 80 or 90 billion that went towards this. But the total investment over the next decade was like 10 times that.
Yeah.
Because the private sector chased that idea.
Which makes sense.
So the private money piles on top, which is kind of what happens when you have these long-term things that pass, is you have all these startups and these entrepreneurs that are like, hey, this money's coming. There's this move that the government is like trending towards. So
we know the guy here that made like $1 billion cleaning up oil.
Right. Because
he positioned himself because he knew, or I guess it was a gamble, that the government would lower the acceptable levels of like oil per parts per million in water.
No, it was a required cleanup of coal tailing ponds.
But that was,
and every other company that did it really inefficiently.
Yeah.
And he knew, or there was one company that was doing it really, really well, but they didn't have any capitalization, so we just like threw a few $100 million at them because, you know, everyone has that laying around.
Yeah, of course.
And is like started winning contracts because he could profit at the lowest bid.
And that was the government being like, "Oh, we need to do this now."
Which is like the lowest threshold of competency.
Well, cuz like the whole the renewables bill, that's separate than the inflation bill.
No, you're thinking CHIPS Act.
No, that's a separate
CHIPS Act and the
CHIPS Act I've been following because of the
chips.
Well, because my stock, I have a separate Twitter at Bullish Willows on Twitter for my stock trading, and my stock, all the people I follow are fucking following that deep. The Nancy Pelosi's trip to Taiwan, talking about chips. I just bought some semiconductor, not the people that make the semiconductors, but the Dutch company that manufactures the machines to make the semiconductors. I bought some of their stock,
which is good shit.
But
that's some insider shit.
No, but there's another act that they're doing for in the environment that's separate from these.
No, that's the Inflation Reduction Act.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It's all part of the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the biggest climate change bill ever passed.
I saw them putting like 1.3 billion into solar panels or something, and like all this shit.
So you know what?
So my point, just being quick, there's going to be a bunch of like startup companies that are like, oh, we could make solar panels quick, and we're going to get it's like Tesla capitalizing. People criticize Elon for taking all the government money for like making EVs, but it's like, if that's what it fucking takes, that's what it fucking takes, right? Like,
so that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the occasional intersection when government action coincides with what the people actually want.
You have to do it.
It's rare.
You have to do it a couple times, otherwise you're not going to survive.
Well, sometimes they just do it by accident.
That too, because Biden has a stake in some solar panel company somewhere.
Well, they put the dumb fuck sticker on it, which is the Inflation Reduction Act, which is completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
but this is basically
the Build Back Better Act that didn't get passed.
Well,
they're just rebranding it.
This is the Build Back Better Act, but you know what they cut out?
Huh.
Here's my favorite part. This is how I win conservatives over to my point of view. Is I'm like, okay, so here's what they cut out. This is why I hate Democrats. That's how I start the conversation. This is why I hate Democrats, or why I hate liberals.
And like, fuck yeah, I hate Democrats too.
Yeah, and this is why I hate liberals, because they eliminated caps on insulin.
Right.
They eliminated universal pre-K, which is daycare paid for everyone. You get a voucher from the government. You can send your kid to Montessori school. It's covered.
Wait, was that before? Do they have that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Universal pre-K covered. Another one. pharmaceutical like expenditure caps for retired senior citizens. So if you were on if you're on a pension and you had drugs, to fucking live, they would cap the price you pay on your premiums in accordance to the income that you had.
Yeah. Which we have something similar here.
We have that in Canada.
Yeah.
Based. Fucking great. Child tax credit, which was paid monthly, which is equivalent to our family allowance.
Yeah.
And family allowance in Canada is good enough that if you have like 7-8 kids, which a lot of my people do.
Your people being the Mennonites?
True. Is enough, like you will make more money having kids than you will working a job.
Yeah,
when you pass over the threshold of like 4 or 5.
But we talked about this on one episode where someone was like having kids and then abusing them just to get more money.
That was foster.
Still?
No, your own kids. You
Still?
gotta abuse your own kids.
My parents got like $13 a month for me.
Yeah, that's because their income was high.
True.
If your income is fucking low, if like just the husband works, he makes $30,000 a year, you're gonna get the maximum.
Wait, business idea. We have a bunch of kids out of wedlock, me and you, with like different women, obviously, pervert, and then we marry each other. Right.
Just start a group
and
home,
then
dude.
get a oh yeah, right.
just pick them up already cooked,
Or
like fresh out the oven.
no. But then I could have sex for the first time if I do this plan.
That's not how that works. But so that was cut, the child tax credit, and I think also the ability to negotiate on drug prices. Amazing! It's almost like a free market. Have you heard of a free market?
I have never heard of a free market.
Okay, well it doesn't exist for fucking drugs.
Well, I've never experienced one actually.
They let you'll hear them say Medicare can now negotiate drug prices.
Yeah.
In the act.
Yeah.
It's 12 drugs.
Perfect.
There's nearly 10,000 drugs.
I don't think that's true.
That are relevant on this, like under this.
No, I think there's 12
insurance
drugs.
system.
Cocaine. Wait. Meth.
Marijuana.
No, that's a plant.
No, it's a drug.
Heroin. No, that's a plant.
Opium.
No, that's a plant. Yeah, I think there's less than 12 drugs actually.
I think there's less than 12 drugs. So it's 12 drugs that they can negotiate price on.
Which is everything. So
but not
whatever.
insulin.
Well, fuck insulin. Whatever. Just get a better pancreas, right?
Yeah. Fucking idiots.
It was a Canadian.
Dumb pancreas.
Dr. Banting. Sir Banting to you.
Ooh. Why was he a sir, though?
He was knighted by the
queen called him daddy?
I think that was the king, but yeah.
The king called him daddy?
He was knighted. Sir Frederick Banting was a Canadian doctor. I have him framed in my bar.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of doctors framed in my shrugging doctor bar. Get it?
I do recall.
He invented insulin. He didn't synthesize it. He invented it, even though it's produced in our bodies. It was him first. And
which is, for the record, extremely complicated and expensive.
Yeah, so he was Canadian, so that was cool. But he synthesized insulin artificially for the first time, and he gave up the patent for it because he wanted everyone to just have it.
Yeah, and now
America charges $25,000 a needle for it.
America, the land of the free, voted down a bill that would cap profitability of this fucking thing that was not invented by the fuckers that make it.
Here's the thing. Everyone hates Martin Shkreli. He's free now. Free my boy.
Free Shkreli.
I'm in his Discord server.
Dope.
I've been in like a group chat with him before. I am a big Martin Shkreli fan, mostly because it's a meme.
Can you tell the people what Shkreli is about?
Yeah, so Martin Shkreli was a pharma bro, if you remember. He bought a life-saving AIDS medication and then raised the price by 3,000%.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't get over that headline.
Yeah.
But I used to watch his live streams before he went to jail. So, he didn't go to jail for any of the drug stuff. He went for the jail for fucking over rich people. He frauded some rich investors and stole the money.
Yeah.
So they could fund more drug research.
Base.
And they don't want you to fund drug research. They want their return on investment.
True.
So that's why he went to jail. But people think, the average person thinks like, oh, he fucked over poor people with AIDS, so he went to jail.
FYI, if you're listening to this, stop, pause it, and Google Joe Manchin's daughter.
Is she hot? What?
Just Google Joe Manchin's daughter and
Okay.
drug prices.
Okay. So anyway,
She is one of these people that jacked up jugs, to the tune of hundreds.
no. So here's the thing.
Like
I'm
maybe
about to-
1,000%.
I'm about to
Sorry.
defend jacking up drug prices.
Okay.
This might be controversial.
Is it followed up by a 9-figure executive compensation deal?
No.
Okay.
So, jacking up drug prices does in America
Yeah.
is makes the insurance company pay more.
Right.
That's all it does.
And
That giant fucking bill you see when you give birth for $500,000 in America,
gets negotiated down to $5,000.
you don't pay that.
No.
You don't pay anything.
Neither does the insurance company.
You pay your copay,
Yeah.
which is whatever, $100 a month. Now, there's a little bit of problems when it comes in when people are uninsured because they're poor.
Yeah.
That's a different story. That's what Obamacare was trying to fix.
Right.
Which, for the record, I am more or less for.
Why can't they have a universal pricing rubric for fucking
so-
healthcare? Because it's not different.
As like
From
someone,
person to person.
as someone who thinks the government shouldn't be involved in anything, like shouldn't exist.
Guidelines
No,
for giving
no.
birth to a child is fine.
No, government, if they're going to exist, they should provide the essentials:
Being.
healthcare, water, food, housing.
So you agree?
They should, and I change on this all the time, where maybe they shouldn't give a homeless person a house, but maybe they should have a rent assist program like they do in Canada
Yeah.
to help people out. If they're going to take my tax money, they should give it like.
It's
but
not.
then-
It's not unconditional handouts.
But then sometimes I go to I'm like, dude, just fucking give them houses. What's the worst that's going to happen? Like the amount of fucking money the government spends, just house everybody.
how much does?
And then what would happen?
How much does Winnipeg spend on housing every year? Or
No-
sorry,
none, right? Nothing. Like,
how much does Winnipeg spend on their helicopter every year?
oh, the helicopter. I think it's like 2.2 million. I think no, 20
No,
million.
I thought it was like 20.
22 million. Then
So, Mr. Willows,
yeah.
I know you're an esteemed real estate investor and developer of affordable housing. It's on your Wikipedia, obviously.
It is. Yeah.
How many houses?
Could I build for $22 million?
How many beds
Yeah.
and like roofs and
Yeah.
with heaters
Yeah.
so that you don't die of
Yeah.
freezing in your bed?
Well, why can't they
Can you
just
provide for $22 million?
Why can't they just buy a warehouse and fill it with cots?
Okay, so
Like it'll be shitty, but like that's something.
So the standard of living that you motherfuckers enjoy, being the valued listeners, is I'm gonna tell you in Canadian dollars, it's a
No.
hell of a lot lower in American
No,
dollars.
here. Listen, I have the end to this conversation.
No, I gotta do some math here.
The government won't spend a cent to house somebody,
Yeah.
but they'll make homelessness illegal, put them in jail, and then
Spend
spend
$10.
$2,000 a day
Yeah.
to house a prisoner in this country.
So this is a fascinating. Like there was a
Just give them $2,000, right? Like, just
There was a
buy them a house.
piece that
Fuck.
came out on, I think it was the Daily actually yesterday, like New York Times,
We're
where
gonna end soon, but
yeah, they talked about the
or whatever.
like how in the Reagan era they basically let all the crazy people on the street because they discontinued the whole like public mental health facility system, which was bad, I granted, but it was not as bad as currently. So in Hawaii, they have about 1,200 people that they consistently cycle through the system, which means they arrest them, consider them unfit for trial, send them to a mental health facility where they are kept for a maximum of 120 days and given treatments which they have to consent to unless they're, incoherent or belligerent or whatever and they can't consent. And the goal is making them fit for trial to face the charges that have been laid against them. If they are not successful in that, they release them after 120 days back into the public, and then they're arrested again. They go through the system again. There's about 1,200 people that cycle through that system. They spend $8 million a year on these 1,200 people.
Yeah, so even giving them $1,000 a month to pay for rent,
They
even
would-
if you wanted to go that basic,
Yeah.
would be cheaper.
Yeah.
But like I always say that it's like, what's these NDP, which is our far, in quotations, far left party. I said my parents are pretty milk toast, right? So
Yeah.
I said to them, like, the NDP's far right. Like, they're Nazis. They're Nazis that want dental care.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, they're fucking. I'm like, do they want to abolish capitalism? No, then they're far right, right? It's communism on one side, capitalism on the other, right? Like, and I'm not saying you should abolish capitalism. I personally think it's the best system we've figured out. I think
I would argue and say the free market is, but
no.
that
So
does
here's
not
the thing:
exist.
is you have to roll back to human nature, right?
Yeah.
And if we forcibly imprint communism on everyone, people like me are going to manipulate the system and do nothing all day. They're going to Tom Sawyer the fucking fence and come out on top and manipulate people, right? Capitalism, I think, is the most fair. It does hurt, disabled people and, people like that. Like, I understand there's problems, but I do think money is one of the smartest things we've come up with as humans, because I say this to JL, who's my roommate, who's a communist.
Socialist.
Well,
Call him a commie.
depends on the situation, but I always say this argument is that there's that little thing inside of you that wants to be better than people, wants to be like get ahead. Like, there's that little thing, right, where like you win, you feel good, and we have taken that feeling and put it into a shiny coin.
Right.
So when you get that, you feel good. That's the smartest thing humanity's done. And that traces back to a lot of, like, in Babylon and in ancient Rome,
Richest men of Babylon.
they invented it for the army to just not occupy people, but to like trade them when they had to.
It's so that the army didn't have to have jobs.
Yeah, basically. But it was like, I think that's one of the smart. It's like taking a human nature and putting it in a coin.
Yeah.
I personally believe is one of the smartest.
Well, that's why federal banks are the most nefarious inventions of all, because you're taking the most fundamental human desire and you're manipulating it.
I don't have fucking time running my business, but I have the intention to make like a fucking 6-hour long video essay.
True.
On monetary policy, but more specifically just currency as like I literally 100% think it's like the smartest thing we've ever done as society, to like manipulate and to grab and to like just
evaluate value,
because it's so applicable to everything.
Yeah.
Like, I always tell this story. There's a barter company in Manitoba where you can trade your stuff. Basically, you join their barter network, and then whatever you say, you're a tile company, you can do tile work on the barter network, and then it'll get you barter dollars, which you can use at a bakery to buy bread or a winery to buy wine, right? And they all like there's 2 of them in Manitoba, and they always want us to go on there, and I always kind of tried it out and then didn't like it. You know why? Because I can trade my wine to 90% of people.
Yeah.
For if I wanted to.
For goods.
My wine is like,
you don't need a barter network.
I don't need a barter dollar, but the barter dollar helps if your stuff isn't like in demand. Like, you do lawn cutting.
Or tile, which people only usually do every 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I do lawn cutting, but I live in an apartment.
Yeah.
So I don't need my lawn cut, but I can use my barter dollars, right?
You're just reinventing the monetary system.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like currency is like that, but everything. You can do anything and earn the dollar, and you can spend that anywhere. It's a coupon for anywhere.
Yeah.
I think
It is a genius system, but it's obviously been bastardized by the people that control it.
But that's how it works.
That's how everything is. That's
what are you
how
going to
everything
do?
works.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know, shoot him in the face. So I'm going to finish my thought on the police helicopter of Winnipeg. $22 million a year. for a really nice, good quality apartment in a good part of town averages about $100,000 a door. Per door being per apartment, and let's say it's a 2-bedroom apartment on average in a good neighborhood. For $22 million a year, you can build 220 apartments. And those are there forever. Think about pulling 220 people off the street every year.
Just for the price of a helicopter. Never mind. Defund
this is accounting for total loss.
We spend $320 million on the Winnipeg Police Service every year.
So this is accounting for total loss, which is complete expenditure and zero return on that investment, which means you donated that $100,000 to that individual. This is one of the great things about actually a small town I came from, Morden. They started doing this program where they would have city-owned housing, where it was a replacement for the provincial housing program, where if you wanted a house, they would provide subsidized housing, but every dollar that you spent in your subsidized housing payment would count as equity, not as a rent payment.
Oh, and you could slowly own the house.
So basically,
I remember
so
that,
not necessarily even that you'd own the house, but when you move out, they give you 100% of the money that you paid in rent back to you the day that you moved out.
Yeah.
And you could then use that capital to purchase a home and build equity in something. Like a program as simple as that, it would literally cost them nothing. That $22 million a year would compound every year. It'd be $44 million.
Because a lot of, I think this is just anecdotal, but I've talked to, when I was homeless for 3 months, so I do have a perspective on this.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I was homeless and white, and I still had a safety net of friends and family that I could fall back on. I wasn't destitute.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have been worse off objectively than a lot of people. So I do think I have a perspective on this. And I talked to a lot of homeless people when I was homeless that were just so helpless.
Yeah.
That they were so lost that they couldn't, there was no way out of this hole.
Yeah.
I need to eat today and I need to find somewhere to sleep today, and that's it. There's no, if I just do this for 3 years, I can, get a rental property, then I can get a house, then you couldn't even, they were so far from that it wasn't there wasn't even on the table.
Well, you start with a meal, and you talk to the people there, you say, would you like an apartment?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, is that if you can say to somebody, okay, rent, we're not going to give you free money, but here's an apartment, get a job, and every dollar you pay, we give you a dollar, into this thing. Yeah. And then eventually you can buy a house. That's providing.
But if you walk away and you
get nothing.
And you don't want to buy a house, or you don't want to do whatever, if you don't want to start a business, you get nothing.
Yeah.
The caveat is you need to take that money and do something with it for yourself.
Yeah.
That's gonna improve your position in society. This program, that idea is even revolutionary to
I like it.
Reserves.
Yeah.
So one of the last thought of the week, if you're Canadian, you can understand this, but if you're American, I guess it sucks. But if you're in Canada and you're Aboriginal, you can live on a reserve, and the government will pay for you to have a house. You will get a house no matter what. And as long as you take care of it, live in it, whatever, it's all expenses paid, but the caveat is you don't own it, or at least not in the eyes of the banks and the rest of society. You don't own it because it is on Aboriginal sovereign land, which is in technicality its own sovereign nation. So if you go to a bank and you say, I have this house, I live in this house, I've been there for 20 years, I've fixed it, I've taken care of it, I want to buy a house in a different city that is not sovereign native land, all the time and money that you've spent into your house, none of that equity counts for the future. It's you have nothing on the balance sheet, because if that bank cannot collect on your mortgage, they cannot then collect on the collateral of the house you've lived in. So you're basically starting from scratch as a first-time home buyer with no equity. So the system of quote-unquote equality that's been built has also excluded people that benefit from this program from participating in society in other places and other ways. And there's no way to close that loophole or bridge that gap. What they could simply do is that exact program I described of like, every payment you make goes to equity and we can give you that in cash to go buy another property or whatever. Like, there's a bunch of things that could be used to resolve it, but they just don't because there's no benefit.
Well, they don't care. Government doesn't give a
No,
shit.
they don't give a fuck. What they want is they want to pay lip service.
Yeah,
they
want to get voted.
We're on Treaty 1 land and blah blah blah.
Well,
but they're not gonna fucking fix a damn thing.
I said this the other day. Like the Jagmeet Singh, who's our far left in quotations again politician, he'll get up on stage and give a land acknowledgement. Oh, we're on Treaty 1 land. We're on stolen native land. You know, as his government. Norton, what's the premier of BC?
I don't care.
Whatever. He's an NDP. He's sending militarized police to break up Wet'suwet'en protesters.
RCMP via helicopter with SWAT weapons.
But he'll give a land acknowledgement before he does it.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to acknowledge we're on treaty land, but also get the fuck off.
Well, and that's something I want. Like, I want to get into like charity work and stuff. And it's so hard to find a balance.
Not-for-profit paramilitary death squad.
Yeah, literally. But it's like, it's so hard to find a balance between just wasting money and actually helping people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't consider myself a leftist. And I don't think just funding broken systems and throwing money into systems. Like, I saw an op-ed today that was like, the healthcare system is objectively bad, broken, and the NDP just want to make dental care just like that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you can't just throw more money into a broken system.
But also, extremely wealthy capitalists like Bill Gates, for example, go and create this own ecosystem of like NGOs, non-governmental organizations, non-profits that go to presumably fix these problems outside of the government's control, and they do a much worse job because the dumb fuck, super privileged white guy somehow doesn't understand the nuances.
Yeah, the example I always think of is Bill Gates sent malaria nets to prevent malaria from mosquitoes. Yeah, and the village used them to fish, and it killed all of them because it poisoned the fish. It's
like, you cannot get more disconnected than a billionaire doing charity.
I agree.
So,
well, I think that's part of it is like, you need to find people on the ground that'll.
But they don't, because they think they know fucking better.
Yeah.
And it's like a self-censor.
It's so hard.
It's a self-censorship program or issue where the billionaire says, I want to achieve this and do it this way because I think this is the problem and this is how we fix it. And everyone else will quickly move their pieces on the board to suit what the billionaire is saying, so they get the funding.
Have you ever seen?
And then they do the shit wrong because that's the way that they're supposed to do it.
This is going to be a tangent, and then we'll get into our last. We're way over time, but
that's okay.
Sometimes me and Tyler just need a second.
I need a second. I need a fucking.
This is going to be a tangent, but it'll come back to this. Just bear with me. Have you ever seen the movie Brewster's Millions?
No.
Okay, so it's a movie where I haven't seen it in a while, so bear with me. His dad or something dies, and in the will leaves him like $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But the deal is he has to spend like this is like in the 80s or 90s movie, so it's like the numbers are weird. But it's like he has to spend $5 million in a week, or else he can't get the rest of the money.
Yeah.
And part of the deal is like he can't tell anybody that what he's doing, and he can't make any like he can't like buy a plane. He can't buy anything that he like has. He has to just waste it.
Yeah.
And the idea was like the dad or whatever was trying to give him like a perspective on wasting money before he like inherits all this money, right? So
you got to go out of your way to blow it.
So what I was kind of thinking, it's like, I plan on being rich. And that's not me being like a Instagram like I'm gonna be a rich like I think the skills that I have work in capitalism, and what I've created so far in the last in my adult life.
If you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna be rich.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be like Elon Musk rich. Well, maybe I will.
The long great
But
muskrat.
like I'm gonna be worth tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Almost assuredly.
Same.
Because I just take the money I make from this and invest in index funds, and I'm doing pretty fucking well.
Yeah, like multitudes greater than Trump.
Yeah. So I'm going to have money. So I think a lot about like, because I don't come from money at all. My parents are both middle school teachers. So I don't come from I come from a, middle class. Obviously, I never had to really struggle growing up, but I don't come from like, you want a Mercedes on your 16th birthday? Like, like shit. Like, I don't come from that, right? But I always thought about like, how would I, because they say wealth skips a generation because your kids grow up spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought about like, if I wanted to have kids, how would I make it so they're not spoiled?
Well, to be fair, the wealth would land on your children, not on you.
And I read this story one time about someone who was worth hundreds of millions of dollars and their kids never knew. Because he had he rented like a 2-bedroom apartment in like a shitty part of town with his kids and just lived there with them. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I gotta go work," and would go to his mansion and run his like $100 million investment company. And the kids didn't find out till they were like 16 that they were actually worth $500 million.
Yeah.
Because they lived in this shitty apartment, shitty part of town. He drove a shitty car to his mansion to get his Lamborghini.
Right.
And like, they went to a public school and all this, right? And he was like, I wanted to teach you to value that everyone's a fucking person and to value money. And I read that and I'm like, So,
which is interesting because most people try to earn a lot of money to give their kids a luxurious lifestyle.
Well, that's what I want to do, I think.
But
I don't know.
But
I also don't know if I want to have kids or not.
Okay, fair.
But one of the things that I was thinking about, well, I have you here alone while Tyler's in the bathroom. Drink Wilden, Wild Berry Hard Iced Tea. It's our newest product. It's a collaboration. Shrugging Dr. Beverage Company makes it, but it's Wilden Media Group that markets it. You don't know Wild Media Group? What do you, live under a rock? Look up Winnipeg Wilden, WINNIPEG, WILDIN, Wilden, on Instagram, and you can look at them. They're pretty cool. They post memes. They're a meme page. They make a lot of memes. So buy our collaboration, Winnipeg Wilden Hard Iced Tea. You can buy it at shrugdot.com, SHRUGDOC.com, and look up Winnipeg Wilden on Instagram. Thank you.
So sending your kids to public school.
So I don't know if I want to have kids or not.
Same.
But
no, I'm going to, but I doubt it all the time.
But I always think about it. Because that's like part of me is like wanting to build generational wealth, right? Like, why am I working so hard?
But why put them through this?
Sure. But here's something I thought of after watching Brewster's Millions. Was kind of the opposite. Set up a trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
A trust is like you put in money for your kid that you can't touch, but also your kid can't touch until they're a certain age or a certain condition is met.
It's held by a neutral third party.
Yeah. Like a banker or a lawyer or whatever.
Usually a lawyer.
So say I have a trust of $100 million for the kid. And the condition is they have to net profit $1 million on a business that they run before they can touch it. Came up with this a long time ago when I was like 19 after I watched that movie. I was just thinking about it in bed. I was like, this is... Yeah. So it was like, make a business to $1 million. Then you'll unlock our family wealth.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, it dramatically depends on what your stature is when you die. Because potentially your kid could start $1 million business like Nancy Pelosi's kid,
On my
who
name.
makes $1 million just on her name
Yeah.
with no credit to his own.
Maybe I'm not dead.
Yeah, that's the thing about trust. You don't have to be dead.
Yeah, maybe I'm not dead. Maybe I don't have a trust.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just, I'll give you $100 million if you make $1 million.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking.
I think the policy on your trust or the will or whatever has very little to do with it, because
Wills are not really, contrary to popular belief, you don't sit in a fucking lawyer's office and read the will out loud.
yeah.
That's not how that works. Also, if someone cuts you out of your will and their family, 90% of the time the court's like, no, fuck off. They can't just cut you out of the will.
So fun fact, my mother texted me yesterday and said that her parents have decided to not cut her out of their will.
But they were going to before?
Yeah, because apparently it is not very godly to
Okay.
blackmail your children with money for better behavior.
You can't really cut people out of your will in America too.
Which
in
is
this
funny
country.
because they've used this as blackmail since she was 14.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, because if you cut them out of your will, they're still your next of kin.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Yeah,
It's
which,
like these-
which is funny because they have no idea that's
these
real.
billionaires that will like
And to be fair,
give all
they've-
their money to their cat
yeah,
and not their son. The court will be like, no, you get the money. Like,
Yeah.
that's not how your last will and testament isn't like law.
isn't the last word.
It's not law.
Yeah,
This is what I can say I can like kill this guy in my last will and testament. They're not going to be like, oh, well, he said it.
it's contract law.
It's
not.
and
law.
no, they didn't sign the contract. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how that works. Like, that's a big misconception. I had this fucking argument so many times. It's not how that works.
Yeah. So, fun fact.
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
True. Next to godliness is tip of the week.
Yeah, we got to finish this up. We're already at almost 2 hours. So this last segment of the podcast we call Tip of the Morning, where Tyler and I give you business or life advice that we are currently going through in business. I have one.
Okay.
It's going to go back to the first story that was been on my mind all day, where my friend was like trying to plan running a business, right?
Yeah.
And this might be irresponsible advice.
I'm
But
here for it.
I'm pretty sure, I might have to think on this longer, but I'm pretty sure I'm just take a month off of work, quit if you have to, and just do the business for a month.
Yeah.
And just, you'll probably find out pretty quickly if it's working or not. Not,
or work.
here's the thing,
or,
not even,
or dedicate 25 hours a week after work / weekends to do it. That's enough. 25 hours is more than most people put in.
not even that it's not working in like a month, but that you don't like it.
Yeah.
You can't, not even that you don't like it. I keep changing my mind, but like, not even that you can't live that lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? And I think most medium to large size jobs would give you a month off if you asked. If you're like, hey, I need to schedule this in advance. I need to take December to January off, or whatever your business, whatever. Give me a month in the fucking slow season. I need it off. Book somebody else.
Yeah.
And most places will fucking do that. If
And-
they'll do fucking 12 months for maternity, they'll do fucking...
Well, I mean, if it's America, they do 2 weeks. But
Okay, well, America's fucked. But like...
So, by the end of this thing, I'm going to jump on that. If you think in your mind, in your gut, in your soul, you say, you know what, that was fucked, I need to go back to my job, do it.
You've learned a lot.
Yeah. If at the end of that month you're like, my job is fucked, I need to stick to this, do that.
And that's my tip. Thanks, Tyler, for
It's
summing
nice.
it up.
It's a nice tip. I think my tip is, I think giving tough love to people is really fantastic, because I think a lot of the success of the business that I am currently in partnership running is like not giving people everything that they want, but giving them what they like actually have asked for, which in a lot of cases is not the same thing. Like people will want something, they think they want something, but what they need or what they've asked for is something else entirely.
You can't always get what you want.
True. Even if you're rich. So I did a walkthrough, like a final walkthrough of one of the biggest projects we've ever done. It was $250,000 plus of tile. Rationalize that in your mind. How big this fucking project was. And I had to walk through with this person and a project manager and whatever the general contractor and talk to them about the actual results versus the expectations. And there was a big deficit in a lot of areas because, for one, the homeowner hadn't even seen like samples of products that they bought, that they paid for and were installed in their home, which is like really tough to reconcile. It's like, oh, well, you paid for this thing that's super eclectic and weird, and now it's got a weird result, but you're not happy with that. You want something that's not weird, but well, you bought something weird. I don't know what to tell you. And it was a lot of that kind of back and forth of justifying something that didn't really need justifying to this person. And it was kind of like a microcosm of like what it's like to run a business, especially in this day and age where nobody's doing anything unique or critical. Like you're not.
Some of us are.
Well, very few. Like Willows is not providing the idea of wine.
Sure.
You're not providing the concept of alcohol.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. No one makes wine in this province except me.
Yeah, but
for the record.
But you're not the only person that sells wine in
Have
this
I
province.
have I ever thought of? Hey, have you ever thought of having old grapes?
Yeah, literally. Have you ever thought about the idea of old grapes?
Have you ever thought of the idea of old grapes?
There is nothing really new.
No.
And in order to defend...
but building a house, which is what you do, is not exactly a new idea either.
But doing it in this particular way with this assortment of materials might be new or different because it's like their needs, their expectations, their vision may not match what the designer spec'd, which is what the builder ordered, which is what I provided. And I provided it at the highest possible level of quality. But if the initial product is not what you asked for, even if it's the best there is, it may not be enough. So, I don't know. I kind of went through this experience of, while I may have done this as good as it possibly could have been, it's still not to your requirements. I had to stand there and tell this guy, and I'm like, what you want is wrong, and what you actually wanted was this, and we actually provided it for you, so therefore we don't have to spend a bunch of money rectifying the situation because we're not fucking wrong. It was a lot of finessing, but what I find really, really gets through to people, and what I kind of mentioned earlier in the podcast, is be very, very qualified, I guess would
Just
be the
get
right
better.
word.
Just get better.
Be really good at what you do. Be really well informed and understand what you provide in a deep and intimate way, even if it seems innocuous. Because when that person questions what you've just provided them, what they've just paid for, and they say, you know what, this isn't, and this comes back to kind of what you talked about recently, is someone buys a wine and says, I don't like it, I want my money back. I had the same situation. But this was with
if there's a quality issue, I'll return it. But if you don't like it, fuck off.
Right.
You bought a wine you didn't like.
So this is a $40,000 floor this guy installed in his pool house.
That they're saying you did bad.
No, they're saying they don't like.
And that you should refund it.
No, they're saying we should fix it.
Okay.
Which is kind of unfixable kind of by its nature. Because it's...
You just have to do it again.
It's an imperfect natural product. And
Yeah.
it's like, I literally can't fix it. It's like, oh, I installed rocks on your yard and the rocks hurt your feet. It's
Well,
like, can you make the rocks not hurt my feet? It's like, well, no, sir.
Not really.
That's the nature of rocks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir, but rocks are hard. It was
Wait.
like, it was that level of conversation.
Cocks are hard?
As I am, yes. It was that level of conversation, but it's my explanation of like how much we slaved over making this thing perfect, the contrast of like how other people usually do this, And the fact that what you have is what you get, and it's like repairing it is not worth it. It's like you just need to learn to like it, because what you think you want is not there. But what you do have is something that other people want, and here's why you should want it. And like that whole kind of conversation, also balancing with I'm not an asshole and telling you that you don't know what you want in your own damn house, was really difficult. And like I kind of overstepped a little bit. I don't really have the level of finesse that I used to have doing sales, because I don't do it every day. But yeah, it was a really, like, my adrenaline was pumping by the end of this meeting, because I was like, oh fuck, like the stakes are really high on this conversation. But the homeowner kind of came around. He's like, most people are empathetic to other people that are honest and are experts, and if you can kind of go over someone's problem in a way that they haven't looked at it before, if you explain something in a way that is more coherent than the way that they understand their problem, it makes it go away. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's the stakes are really, really fucking high with a lot of these contracts and a lot of business. And if you don't understand why you do what you do, like back to the farmers markets, if you don't understand what the entire goddamn point of a farmers market is, you're gonna fail. And when someone pushes you, if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing it for those reasons, you're going to get knocked the fuck over. You're going to suffer because you're just an imposter, and people are going to punish you for it. They'll be able to identify it. And Willows is an imposter because he is drinking lime juice.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. Thank you for listening to Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where we debate business topics, both sober and drunk. You can find us, Alcohol Beyond This Point, on Instagram, Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast on Facebook. It's Linktree, Alcohol Beyond This Point. I think I don't know if you Google it, it'll come up. Maybe, try. Google Alcohol Beyond This Point. Google it, see if it comes up. Yeah, Willows, Tyler, I don't know. Whatever, right? He's texting. He's not even fucking listening to me anymore.
I'm texting while listening to you.
Okay, bye.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.